overtime. Niggas love the clout chase, that's the shit they glorify. I don't even try hard, this gangsta shit immortalized. No records of a trace when your crime is organized. No man is over me, I'm highest in the morning time. Low key in the birds when I cross the state borderlines. Spin your block and horrified. Fuck your bitch, you mortified. I'm standing where you draw the line, nigga, hold the line. My nutsack, I'm grabbing mine, both of mine, quit holding mine. You gon' get this work and some overtime, you know the vibe. Little nigga, you know it's me. I don't need them to notice me. When conflict get crucial, I can't help but do them bogusly. Smoke you like a stogie, beat you like you stole from me. Niggas out of body, put you back where you supposed to be. I shoot at you waking in the moment, niggas toast for you. My niggas do the most for me, that's what they supposed to. I want all the smoke, nigga, cut the shit you think bad enough and test. And you know how I'm coming, I ain't done for nothing. You know when I pull up on your block, it's bustin'. You know how I'm coming and you came with me. You know what's going, stop playing with me. I want all the smoke, nigga, cut the shit you think bad enough and test. And you know how I'm coming, I ain't done for nothing. You know when I pull up on your block, it's bustin'. Mercy, mercy, Lord have mercy. Why niggas hate me? Show me no mercy. Brother forsake me, woman them hurt me. Mercy, mercy, Lord have mercy. Okay, walk like a champion, talk like a champion. You don't hear that semi blow. Pump, 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 pump. Pull up on your set slow. You don't hear no engine. Put a body on the gun wide. Walk like a champion, talk like a champion. You don't hear that semi blow. Pump, 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 pump. Pull up on your set slow. You don't hear no engine. Put a body on the gun wide. Mercy, mercy, the wicked have no mercy. So I gotta stay with a blicker, niggas be thirsty. Quicker than the flick of a picture, niggas could murder me. Catch you with your dick in these bitches and do you dirty. But I'm God body, I put that shit on the jersey. No weapon formed against me shall hurt me. Go to war on your turf, I put you under the surface. Mac 10s, Mac 11s, call a nigga Bernie. Open up the chest of a liquor, them bitches burning. Living by the scripture that's written and it's the sermon. I see that window closing, can't be playing in the curtains. I ain't playing like the circus. I'm a man with a purpose. Can't be laying with the serpents. Keep the squares out your circle. You ain't standing on your word. What kind of man are you? Extra out, cross you over. I had to sham guide you. Can't stop a nigga drive the beat. They can't guard you. Hell have no fury compared to what God do. I'm a whole gangster. My nigga not partial. 38 special. This nigga think he's special. I go ahead to part you. I ain't finna argue. Walk like a champion. Talk like a champion. You don't hear that semi blow. Run, pump, 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 pump. Pull up on your set slow. You don't hear no engine. Put a body on me gun wide. Walk like a champion. Talk like a champion. You don't hear that semi blow. Run, pump, 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 pump. Pull up on your set slow. You don't hear no engine. Put a body on me gun wide. Nigga, all that shit you saying ain't felt. I don't take you as serious as you take yourself. Niggas steady playing, better play where it's safe. Never know who I'm locked in with around your way. I don't like no bad energy around my space. The label good green, nigga, what's good, you straight. Niggas talking crazy, that's a big mistake. Dreadlock driller, man, it's twisted fate. Had to spin that nigga around like 360 ways. You don't know how I get out fully, I've been on edge. I can't let that slide, don't be that guy. Red Bull gives you, nah, little nigga, they lie. Just as an eagle gives you wings once I let that bitch fly. This eagle live vision on this level of mine. Give you an evil eye vision, red beam on the 9. Even now seeing evil eyes still cry. Don't leave an eyewitness on the scene of the crime. Seeing is believing, you ain't seen nothing yet. Switch scenes like the seasons or a scene on the set. You think it's sweet cause you breathe until you see what's next. Okay, walk like a champion, talk like a champion. You don't hear that semi blow. Pump, 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 pump. Pull up on your set slow. You don't hear no engine. Put a body on me gun wide. Walk like a champion, talk like a champion. You don't hear that semi blow. Pump, 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 pump. Pull up on your set slow. You don't hear no engine. Put a body on the gun wide. Walk like a champion, talk like a champion. You don't hear that semi blow. Pump, 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 pump. Pull up on your set slow. You don't hear no engine. Put a body on me gun wide. Mercy, mercy, Lord have mercy. Why niggas hate me? Show me no mercy. Brother forsake me, woman them hurt me. Mercy, mercy, Lord have mercy. time moves fast when you tryna chase a bag, that's facts. At last, niggas finally see your check. Haters wanna knock you off your apex.
It's not hate to say that we were kidnapped and brought here, it's true. It's not hate to say that we were Jim Crow, discriminated and segregated, it's true. It's not hate to say that the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in this country, came up with a hypocritical desegregation decision 9 years ago, which they haven't enforced yet. That's not hate, that's true.
You're quoted as having said when an airliner crashed with a number of white people on board that you were glad it happened.
The white race in this country collectively are guilty of these crimes that our people are suffering from collectively. And therefore they will suffer some collective disaster, collective grief. When that plane crashed in France with 130 white people off.
No one man should withstand the weight of the world on his shoulders that die when it's over. Ain't no global warming, the world getting colder. Ain't nobody doing shit, they taking our culture. Wake up and see y'all, ain't no balance on one side of the seesaw. We at war with Esau, but ain't nobody down with us. My niggas get up. I know what it's like to wake up fucked up. I know what it's like when the pain cut deep. You can't get on your feet and you just wanna stay asleep. When the shit too much, a nigga needs to roll up. And all you got is this money and this still ain't enough. To live is to survive, gotta hustle to stay alive. My girl don't understand, I can see that look in her eyes. You got the trouble of soul, I pacify with lies. I inflict the pain and wipe your tears over cries. Baby, I know you heard no apologies in advance. I just pray to God that he give me another chance. Try to make it to heaven, I got one hell of a plan. Dancing with the devil makes me a hell of a man. Yeah, I'm trying to be a better man, but my nigga down south won't put me up 200 hands. He told me if I really didn't put that shit in my hands, is that a curse or a blessing? And you I see at the end.
What's good? What's good? Shalom. What's cracking? We back at it. I know you see the title. Yes. I mean, since, you know, they think, you know, Israelites is crazy anyway, so, you know what, forget it. Hey, UFOs in the Bible. I know you see the title, right? We're gonna get it cracking. We call it a disclosure, UFO in the Bible, right? So yeah, we're gonna get into it with different things in the Bible that will lead us to that conclusion, and we're gonna break it down. And of course, before we get started, giving all praises to the Most High God Yahweh, we do so in His only begotten Son Yahweh Shai, right? Who the world probably might know as Jesus Christ, right? We're gonna get into it. So yeah, of course, in the recent news, people been going crazy with the little sightings and stuff like that. And, then, with the Steven Spielberg movie coming out, the title, a little play off of that as well. But before we really break it all down, just give my official stance, the covenant of the zealot official stance on the matter, right? Now, I would say probably majority of the stuff that we see or, people have been seeing, I would say is, man-made. And, they, have a lot of, far out of this world technology that they've been experimenting with since the 40s and the 50s and stuff. They got, files and, stuff that's documented on such things. Cause you think about it, like a lot of the technology we have today, I was, telling somebody just on a smaller level, like the microwave. The army, the government was using the microwave for about 20-something years before they decided to make it retail for people to buy and put in their homes, right? So there's certain technologies, that, they have, and, even too, like, the invisible, if, for the Call of Duty people out there, they had a game where it was like it was like an invisibility cloak where you can go invisible. And some people thought it was cartoonish, but not understanding that technology, that nanotechnology exists, where they can bend light from an object. Because the reason why we see things is because light reflects off of it. So then they figure out a way how to make a certain material that can reflect light from an object, so it appears invisible. So and they've been, far as my knowledge, because a long time ago, seen this video a while back. I guess the video is from 2004, but I think I seen it a little later after that. But this was during the Iraq War, and so this was a British tank, and it was invisible. It rolled in and picked up a couple soldiers and stuff, and they had the little nano fabric thing, whatever, how they coat the coat the stuff, right, to make it appear to be invisible. And so it's basically like we all saw the movie Predator, and when they go invisible and they kind of like mirror and reflect the environment, so it's like that, right? And you can kind of, just like how when we watch the movie, we can, for the viewer, how they make it so that we can see the predator, although he's invisible to the to the person that's in the scene with him. But for the audience, we can still see the outline of that of the predator when he's in that mode. So same thing, like that. That's how the tank appeared, and it was just mirroring the environment. So they got that right. So now, then of course they have stuff out there that's not government, right? And that stuff is what we're here to talk about. So yeah, so enough of my rambling and all that. Let's start at Exodus, right? Let's go to Exodus 13 real quick, right? Let's go to Exodus 13 and 21. So now this is the Israelites. They leaving out of the land of Egypt. They done the 10 plagues done hit that place. We coming up out of there, and all that cool stuff, right? So Exodus 13 and 21. So it says, and they took their journey from Sukkoth and encamped in Etham in the edge of the wilderness, right? So they made their way to the wilderness, right? And then it says this: the Lord went before them. So so we got to understand the context. So it said the Lord went before them, right? And it says by day. So in the daytime, he went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud, right? And we're going to see that word cloud, appear throughout this video, this lesson, right? And understanding that what we say today, UFOs, UAPs, whatever you want to call them, right? The Bible often refers to them as clouds or chariots of God, whirlwinds, what else? It depends, right, on the context, right? The glory of God, it all depends, right? So it says the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud. So now think about it like that movie in the beginning scene of Independence Day, when everybody's laying in the bed early morning to see a big old heavy cloud that's coming through the sky, but then within that cloud is like fire, and it's like engulfing the ship that's covering it like a field, but it's like a folding fire, right? It's like it's folding itself, on itself, right? So picture that, right? And So it says, the Lord went before them in a pillar of a cloud and led them the way, and by night a pillar of fire, to give them light to go by day and night. So again, so so this vehicle, for lack of better terms, because that's what we're speaking of, this aerial vehicle, this cloud that the Israelites was following, in daytime it appeared as a a cloud-like figure in the sky that guided them through the day. Then at night, it transformed into like a fiery, lit up, thing that can lead them during the night, right? So now we gotta understand, this is like 3,500 years ago, right? And their technical reference is different than ours, right? So they're explaining it in the way that they see, because they know what goes up in the air, birds, clouds. So this thing is up in the air, so they liken it to a cloud, right? And then the attributes of it as well, right? So it says, he took not away the pillar of the cloud by day, nor the pillar of the fire by night from before the people. So that was what he used to lead the people into the promised land. They followed that chariot, right? Let's jump up to chapter 23 real quick. and 20, and it say, so just understand what that cloud was, right? Because it wasn't the Most High God Himself, in that cloud, because he's a king, he's a God, he's the Most High God, he sits on the throne. So like any ruler that sits on the throne, he doesn't do the work himself, he gives out the work, he orders things, and things get done, right? So it says this. It says, behold, I send an angel before thee to keep thee in the way and bring thee unto the place which I have prepared. And, we would understand, this angel that led the Israelites through the wilderness and into the promised land was, Christ, right? So, and it's telling us, I will send an angel before thee to keep thee in the way, to bring thee into the place which I prepared thee. So now that angel that he sent before him was what we read in chapter 13, that cloud that was leading them through the wilderness, right? And it says, beware of him and obey his voice, provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him, right? And so he got the orders from the Most High to jack these people up whenever they don't do as the Most High God say. And we know the story if you read the Exodus, and we saw that what they went through in those 40 years wandering because they just couldn't get right. So so as we can see that he has he set his angel before the people to follow, and that angel was in that chariot, that cloud that we previously read. And it say boom. Let's get this real quick. Let's get Psalms real quick. Let's get Psalm 68. Psalm 68. And boom. And 33. It's, Psalm 68 and 33. It says, to him that ride upon the heavens of heavens, To him that ride upon the heavens of heavens. So now, what's the heavens upon heavens? That's because heaven we see, right? That's the sky that we can see with the naked eye. Then the heavens upon heavens is what we call, what they would say outer space, whatever, right? For lack of better terms, right? And it says, where that? Boom, boom, boom. It says, to him that rideth upon the heavens of heavens, because he is the Most High God, right? And he sits upon, the highest, right? Then it says, which were of old, lo he doeth send out his voice, and that that a mighty voice, right? And it says, ascribe ye strength unto God, his excellency over Israel, and his strength is in the clouds. Because again, the clouds is talking about what we call those chariots, or how they say today, UAPs or UFOs. And it says, let's read it again, it says, to him that rideth upon the heavens of heavens, which were of old. Because the universe is old, it's ancient. That's why too in Daniel it calls him the Ancient of Days, because the Most High existed before time, right? Before the whole, countdown from 0 all the way to whatever. He was before all of that, right? So it says, to him that ride upon the heavens of heavens, which were of old, lo, he do send out his voice, and that a mighty voice, ascribe ye strength unto God, his excellence over Israel, because he is the God of the Israelites, and his strength is in the clouds, right? Because those his things, those his peoples up there, right? That's his, his angels up there, watching and controlling things, right? And you have men, i.e. Esau, trying to emulate with their man-made technology, and so forth, right? Now, okay, now this is me again. Now this is me speaking as a man, right? Now this what I'm about to say is not biblically found. This is just my personal opinion, right? And so think about it, like when I think about like how they so-called, like when I entertain the thought of them, capturing stuff, ETs or ships or whatever they call them these days, right? And I think I'm like, okay, that's wrong with that, right? I'm like, okay, maybe, right? I'm like, because for the simple fact too, like when you go back to the Tower of Babel, when before, everybody spoke one language, and then, then the angels came down and confounded the language. Then from that we all develop our different language, cultures, customs, and different cosmologies and so forth, right? So the Bible says they came down and confounded the language, but again, we know through archaeology and history, culture and cosmology, spirituality, and all that stuff, language got developed during that time. But again, we don't know how that actually took place. We don't know how that looked, right? So who knows? Maybe, to further technology and humanity, maybe, he left a little breadcrumbs for people to reverse engineer. But again, I'm not standing on that. I'm not teaching that or nothing like that. But it's just a thought, right? Who knows, right? But at the same time, I think, whatever they getting, if they are getting anything, it's not, it's not the Most High, it's not of the Most High in his chariots, because I don't think, they, able to capture or do anything with those, so, but I do think, I don't know, it's weird, but at the same time, Esau is the master liar, manipulator. That's why, too, I started off by saying that a lot of that stuff is man-made, because they do have a lot of technology that they, keep hitting. Just think about this too. All these people we think about these people that come up with these different inventions and ways to make life easier for everybody, like that guy that, with the car engine and the in Africa, and the little teenager dude that, was able to get like 100 something miles per gallon out of the car and stuff. Everybody like, where he at now? He's missing. All these people that come up with this stuff, they end up missing. They go lost. Or big companies buy their ideas and then bury it in a vault somewhere, and you never ever hear about it ever again, right? I mean, because let the truth be told, we're supposed to have free energy by now, but ComEd and all these other, Albert Bell and everybody else say, hey, that's a good idea. Yeah, okay, yeah, we're gonna put that in the file. And took that file and shredded it, right? So you'd be surprised, the stuff that they keep. Just like, I'm not rambling, but just like in the music business, a person would work on a demo, they send it to, back in the day, they used to send it to the record label. Because Eminem had a verse like, back in the day, Eminem had a verse like, I listen to your demo tape and act like I don't like it. 6 months later, you hear your lyrics on my shit. So, same thing, the cordless remote control, they took that idea, they had that idea for the longest, for like, I want to say, going way back to the 50s, to the 60s. They had probably longer than that, the whole cordless thing. But they didn't know how to make money off the cordless remote. And, the cordless phone and stuff like that. But then they figure out how to, monetize that stuff. And now, we got to pay for Wi-Fi. They figure out how to put a meter on a Wi-Fi. So after a certain amount of gigs or whatever, your bars go down, and now you got to pay your bill again, when it's really actually truly free. But then they figure out how to monetize it. But okay, I'm rambling, right? So, that's Tesla too. Check out the whole Tesla stuff. You know what I'm talking about. Psalms, right? Let's go to Psalms 104 real quick. And it's Psalms 104 and verse 3, and it says, who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters? Who maketh the clouds his chariots? Who walk upon the wings of the wind? Right? And you think about this, right? Because when you think about the Hebrew cosmology, right? This whole everything was created, carved out of the waters, right? When you start with Genesis, right? It tells us that all this came out of the waters, so, and it tells us the firmament separates us from the waters that's up there, right? So it says, who layeth the beams of his chambers in the waters, right? Because his heavenly realm, his throne is up there, right? And that, so underneath, because you got beams, beams is made to support stuff, right? And so his heavenly realm, his throne room is, above the firmament, right? And it says, and his chambers in the waters, who maketh the clouds his chariots. Again, can you remember I said that word cloud is going to appear, a lot of times throughout this thing, because the Bible likened what we would call today in modern terms, UFOs, UAPs, they call them clouds, right? And, and interesting enough, the Bible, like I was reading about the Exodus story, these things are capable of disguising themselves as clouds, right? And it says, who maketh his, it says, who layeth his beams of his chambers in the waters, who maketh his clouds his chariots, because his kingdom is above, that's why we call him the Most High God. And then he make the clouds his chariots, because these vehicles, right? And, you know, like I said, I don't want to get all crazy, but, you know, this, sometimes when you see a cloudy day, this watch out sometimes. You know, some of them clouds on a cloudy day just might not be a cloud, right? Then it says, who maketh the clouds his chariot, who walketh upon the wings of the wind. Right? How do you walk upon the wings of the wind? The wind blows to the air. Airplanes also walk upon the wings of the wind. Birds, they walk upon the wings of the wind. And the chariots of God, that these, what they call these aerial vehicles, they also walk upon the winds of the air, right? And it says, who walketh upon the wings of the wind, who maketh his angels spirits, and his ministers a flaming fire. And sometimes those things look like this glowing light, and you know, they call them orbs or something. You know, I done seen like some video, look like some little plasma type stuff, shipping, changing, you know, shape and all that stuff, right? And, you know, again, so, and, you know, going back to my previous statement, you know, I'll still say majority of that stuff is man-made, but then also the Bible did tell us in the last days we will see signs in heaven. So then you got to understand that the devil that the Bible speaks of, their job is to deceive and to manipulate, so they try to copy and, you know, and all that stuff to deceive the people, right? They have their little Hollywood movies, their propaganda to try to, you know, trick everybody to think, okay, this is what this is, right? But, yeah, right? And it says, who laid the foundations of the earth that it should not be removed forever, right? Because the Most High God, the Bible tells us that the Most High God hung this thing on nothing, right? Just let it, boop, just dropped it, boom, and let it hang, you know? And on nothing, except for his word, right? Let's go to Psalms 68 and 17. And it says, the chariot of God are 20,000, even 20,000 of angels. And that's why, too, you know, sometimes you hear me when we talk about Christ coming back, the Black Messiah, you know, when he come back with the millions and millions of angels. That's why we say it like this, because 20,000, because, of course, in Hebrew, we don't have the word millions, right? So that would be 200 million angels that is coming with this man who we know as Jesus Christ, whose name is in Hebrew the Mashiach Yahweh Shai, right? And it says the chariots of God are 20,000, even 20,000 of angels. The Lord is among them, as in Sinai, in holy, in the holy place, right? So think about it. Like, that's a lot of angels, right? Now think about this, right? Those little the chariots that appear, that do all the cool stuff, that come to these nuclear military sites and shut down their computers and make them inactive and mess up their whole radar stuff, right? You know, that's just like, you know, sometimes it just be like one or something like that doing that, right? Imagine 200 million, right? Millions of those things, right? That's crazy, right? Hold on, I'm trying to find this one thing. Where that? know it's right here somewhere. Okay, 26. Hold on, I'll find it over here, dang it. Hold on, bear with me, bear with me. Yeah, that's what, okay. Right, yeah, that's what I thought it was. Boom. So Matthew 26 and 53, right? So sorry, let me start at 51, right? Get the context. So this is when Jesus was getting arrested. This is when Yahweh Shai was getting arrested, right? Arrested. So this is what Yahweh Shai, Jesus said to the people, right? To his disciples, right? And thinking about the millions and millions, right? So he said this to them. So Matthew 26 and 51. Behold, one of them which were with Jesus stretched out his hand and drew his sword and struck a servant of the high priest and smote off his ear. So one of the guys that was riding with Jesus, cut off one of the soldiers' ears, right? Then Yahushua said unto him, Put again thy sword in its place, for they shall take the sword, for they that take the sword shall perish with the sword. And this is the point. Think thou that I cannot now pray to my Father, right? Because we know the Most High God, those is angels, right? And Christ is his son, right? We know the story, right? And what he say? Think not that I cannot now pray to my Father, and he shall presently give me more than 12 legions of angels, right? I mean, and what that look like, right? That look like millions of them things cracking the sky, right? And nothing them people can do about it, right? So Christ said, look, I can go summon these, my brothers can come down at any second and we can rectify the situation. We cool, don't worry about it. You know what I'm saying? Put your sword up and then go holler at these people and see what they want, right? So, again, so the angels, they ride upon the clouds. And Christ said he can call about 12 legions of them, right? Let's get this. Daniel 7 and 13, it says, I saw in the night vision, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven. And what is the clouds of heaven? The chariots of God. And we know who rides in those chariots. Like Christ has told us in Matthew, the legions of angels, right? Legions. How we know to be the millions and millions, right? So it says, and I saw in the night vision, behold, one like the Son of Man come with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days. And who is the Ancient of Days? The Most High God. Because again, the Ancient of Days is the Most High, because he is way before time. He is before creation. He is outside of creation. He is outside of this three-dimensional plane that we know and love, right? It says, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him, right? So, and again, too, this is a cut on the Trinity, because, Christ is coming to the Most High God. So, even in the spirit world, how they say, well, Christ is good. But obviously, it's not God. Daniel is seeing this vision, and this is an end time vision, and Christ is being presented to the Most High, right? So, right, so let's read it again. It says, and I saw in the night vision, behold, one like the Son of Man, as Christ, came with the clouds of heaven, coming with the millions, and came to the Ancient of Days. And they brought him near before him. And there was given to him dominion and glory and a kingdom that all people, nations and language should serve him. So when he comes back and crack the sky with the millions and millions of angels with him, yeah, these nations is gonna fight. You know, we did that's what Armageddon is about, right? World War III. You know, these nations gonna get it in Royal Rumble style. Then Armageddon, Christ is gonna come back and crack the sky with the millions, and then they're gonna try to think that they can fight against the God, right? And then of course they're gonna lose and get thrown in what the Bible called the lake of fire. That's what it is. You know, that's why I said earlier they let their Hollywood movies deceive them. You know, they let they Independence Day, like all we need is a Will Smith and some little, you know, eccentric smart white guy to stop these aliens, right? You know, that's all we need. You know, all we need is a 1976 Mac computer, you know, and to upload a virus. You know, that's all we need. You know, aliens are not prepared for our 1980 technology. That's all we need. A little floppy hard disk, you know, a little hard drive. Put a little floppy copy thingy thing up in there. Mess up the whole universe, right? That's what they're thinking. That's what they tell us in the movies, right? But it says this: there was given him dominion and glory in a kingdom that all people, nations, language should serve him. So they're going to bow down because it's not, because a lot of people say, well, every knee must bow and every tongue must confess. Yes, but don't ever think it's going to be out of pleasure and because, oh my God, this is Jesus, just praise him. No, it's going to be at the edge of the sword, right? Because these are some prideful people that we're dealing with here, right? They changed the man's image. They knew that this man was black the whole time in this Bible, right? Because the Bible says it. You know, it's not a secret. Nobody knows how he looks. You know, and the baby knows how he looks. The Bible tells you, right? You know, it tells you. But they changed how he looked. So they know how he looked. Because they don't want to serve a black God, right? So trust me, when they see that man in the millions, right? It's not gonna be, oh hey Jesus, what's going on, my main man? It's gonna be, get the strap, get the guns, let's go to war. That's what it's gonna be. That's what Armageddon is for, right? It's in the Bible. Just gotta read it, right? Oh yeah. And dominion is everlasting, dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom which shall not be destroyed, right? Because it's going to last forever, ever. Gotta tell us over here real quick, and jump up to verse 18. But the saints of the Most High, the Israelites, but the saints of the Most High, fighting along with our big brother Christ, our King, and the millions. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess it forever, even forever and ever. Right? That's what's going on in the world. So back over here. Let's get let's get Isaiah 65. Isaiah 66 real quick. Right on. Isaiah 66 and 15. All right, let's start at 15. says, "Behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind." Right? You gotta understand that. Behold, the Lord will come with fire and with fire and with his chariots like a whirlwind. Going back to the reference of Independence Day, only because that beginning scene, they did such a masterful job of copying the Bible and what the Bible says, how the Most High God chariots look, right? And so you see that massive, ship, covered in that cloud, and under that layer of cloud, it's a consuming fire that's engulfing the whole thing, and it's like folding around it. It's like, like something that just look like it's out of this world, like a 5 dimensions, something crazy, right? And just folding, right? And it says, "Behold, the Lord come with fire, and his chariots like a whirlwind." Because again, that was another. Remember, we said that earlier. The Bible will call what we call UAPs, UFOs, the spiritual vehicles that the Most High God angels travel in, are either called chariots, whirlwinds, or clouds, oftentimes, right? Or sometimes wild beasts, depends on the context, right? And it says, "Behold, the Lord come with fire, and with chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger and fury and rebuke of flames of fire," right? Because those things is coming back to destroy and make war and to rescue the Most High God's people, right? Let's jump to let's jump up to 20 real quick. Then it say, let's jump to verse 20. It says, so again, going back to what I just said when I said they come to destroy and to rescue the Most High God's people. And it says, "They shall bring all your brethren for an offering unto the Lord out of all nations, upon horses, even in chariots, in lanterns, and upon mules, and upon swift beasts." Right? And again, because, like we were saying, because our people are scattered throughout these 4 corners, right? And to give context to this, because we covered this in World War, we went over the World War III thing and Armageddon and all that stuff. We went over that, those lessons. To give context, when these people finally got enough of each other and want to press the red button, then that's when Christ is coming back, and with the millions, right? He's coming back. Then at that same time, that's when the children of Israel is going to be delivered, and with these what we call UAPs, UFOs. See, and gonna and swoop up and take his people by there, just like our ancestors used to swing low, sweet chariot, right? Because even our ancestors, they understood it, as much as they could, enough to make a song called "Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, Come and Take Me Home," right? And that's what we're reading right here, right? "And they shall bring all your brethren for an offering unto the Lord out of all nations, upon horse and in chariots and in lanterns, and upon mules." I said lanterns, and upon litters, and in litters, and upon mules, and upon swift beasts, to my holy mountain Jerusalem, said Yahweh, as the children of Israel bring offering in a clean vessel unto the house of the Lord. Right? So, again, because we're scattered through all these different nations, and the Most High God is going to send his people along with the millions of, of the angels to gather his people from all 4 corners of the earth that we're scattered to and bring us back into the land. Right? Like it says over here, really quick, Deuteronomy 30, it says, in verse 1 it says, and it shall come to pass, meaning future tense, right? It haven't happened yet because we're still scattered. And it shall come to pass when all these shall come upon thee, the blessing and the curse which I have set before thee, thou shalt call them to mind among the nations, whether the Lord thy God hath driven thee. So that's what we're doing now. We're remembering that we are the covenant people, we are the people of God, and that this book belongs to us and only for us. And we're understanding that it's something that we need to do so we can get our salvation, so we can be saved, right? And so we're coming back to that remembrance. Then it says, and shall return unto thy God, and shall obey his voice according to all I command thee this day, thou and thy children, with all thy heart, with all thy soul, that the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee. So he said, I will turn thy captivity, meaning wherever we're scattered to, he's going to bring us out of these lands that we were taken to during the transatlantic slave trade, the Arab slave trade, and so forth, right? And return our captivity reverse our captivity, take us out of these lands that we're scattered to, right? It says, and have compassion on thee, and return and gather thee from all nations, whether the Lord thy God hath scattered thee, right? And if any, now this is the point, it says, if any of thy be driven out unto the outmost parts of heaven, from hence will the Lord thy God gather thee. So that's why, too, you have the millions and millions of these chariots coming all from around the world, gathering our people from all these little places that we're scattered to, because with the bulk of us being taken here to Americas, but we're scattered to all these other remote islands, like the Bible said, the four corners of the earth, right? Every nation have God's people there, right? For the most part, right? And it says, but of course, here in America, they call us, the people, I'm gonna say this because I don't want to leave nobody out. The people in the Caribbeans, our Hispanic and Latino brothers, our Native American, Black, so that's what they label us over here. But of course, on the other side of the world, we're known by other names because these are just labels and titles, right? So, just like, a person over here can have a French ancestry, but they just call it American over here. That's a white American. But if they were over there, French American. I hope you understand, right? I mean, not French American, but French. You get it, right? It says, the Lord thy God will bring thee unto the land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it, and I will do thee good and multiply thee above thy fathers. Right? So that's the point, right? So no matter where we're scattered to, is going to bring us back to the land, and using his, his angels, the clouds that they ride upon, to bring his people back, right? As we're reading, right? Then it says, and I will also take them for priests and for Levites, said the Lord. Right? And boom, boom, boom. Let's get go to Jeremiah 4 real quick. Jeremiah 4. And 13. So Jeremiah 4 and 13 says, behold, he come up as clouds, and his chariots shall be as a whirlwind. His horses are swifter than eagles. And that's what we see. When you see those videos and you see them things that zip real fast, and they had a little camera and they're able to lock on it for a second, and once they're able to get the lock on it, they clock it, see how fast it's going, then that mug just take off into infinity, right? And those are the Most Highs, right? Not saying that men ain't got stuff that can do some aerial stuff, go make right angle turns and stuff like that. But But the zero to infinity thing, I don't think that's them, because even if it is, I mean, it ain't nobody inside of it, because humans can't take that type of G-force on the body. So, that's, why we, I would say that is definitely our brothers, who we know as the angels, right? And, so it says, behold, he come as clouds, as his chariots shall be as a whirlwind. His horses are swifter than eagles, right? So again, like, we all see those videos, some of us probably have, right? Again, those things defying, aerodynamics and all that cool stuff, right? Just doing amazing stuff, right? So again, it says swifter than eagle. Woe unto us, for we are spoiled. So, meaning, if these things decide to, get on that with us, not us, but them, because they on our side, that's our army. We ain't got no military, no navy, no none of that. We got, that's our protection right there, right? So now, but if they decide to get on that with them, let me say that. If they decide to get on that with them, what does it say? It says, behold, he shall come up as clouds, and his chariot shall be as whirlwinds, and his horse are swifter than eagles, meaning they're super fast. Woe unto us, for we are spoiled, right? And, of course, there's a historical context to this, but, understanding that the scriptures are manifold, now if these things decide to get on that with people, what they gonna do, right? They can't catch them. They can't see them. What they gonna do, right? That's why it says, woe unto us, meaning destruction unto us. We are spoiled, meaning, like, man, we jacked up, we messed up, right? If they, if these things decide to get on that, and they is gonna get on that, but, like I said, it's for our liberation. As long as hopefully you can understand it, right? And it says, let's go ahead. Let's go to, I think I want, hold up. I think I want Zechariah. I'm gonna get them both, though. Alright, let's go to, I think it's Zephaniah. Zephaniah, verse 1. Alright, let's start at 6. Because, again, because those things is coming to, for the salvation of the Lord's people, right? We gotta understand that. And it says, right here, let's start, hold on. let's start at verse 2. It says, I will utterly consume all things from off the land, said the Lord. I will consume man and beast. I will consume the fowls of the heavens and the fishes of the sea, and the stumbling blocks with the wicked. I will cut off man from off the land, said the Lord. Right? So that's what's coming, that Armageddon, what people call Judgment Day, whatever how you want to frame it. I will stretch out my hand upon Judah and upon all the inhabitants of Jerusalem. I will cut off the remnant of Baalah from this place, in the name of Chemram with the priests. Right? So he's going to cut all this idolatry out. Right? Going to set it straight. You know what I'm saying? There's no more false religions and all that stuff that our people are wrapped up in, right? When the Most High God sent His Son back to establish His kingdom, right? And it says, and them that worship the hosts of heaven, right? And what is the hosts of heaven? These angelic beings, these different things throughout the ages of time that civilizations made gods and deities out of, right? It says, and them that worship the hosts of heaven upon the housetops, and them that worship and that swear by the Lord and swear by Malsham, right? So because again, so a lot of our people is into these false religions and following different ideologies and belief systems and trying to mix it in with this and that, right? And messing up the word of God. They try to take that part of, okay, I like that part and I like that part, so I'm going to put it all together to try to create something new, right? Don't do that, right? And it says, and them that turn back from the Lord, and those that have not sought the Lord, nor inquire of Him. Right? So you want to, like I said, so you want to have that protection of the Most High God when He sends His angels in Christ, right? So inquire of the Most High God. Understand what He wants us to do so we can get that protection in that day, because it's messed up to die in the land of your enemies, to die in the land of your captivity. That's not something that should be cool, and it ain't. Because this place is not conducive for the Black, Hispanic, and Native man, right? It's cutting our lifespan, right? So cutting down our quality of life. Then you don't want to further that by joining hand in hand with these people, right? Boom, 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 boom. Let's get where do I want to pile? Let's get hold up. Okay. Yeah, so just get Ezekiel real quick. Let's go to Ezekiel. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 13. Really, really quick. Let's see what's going on with these things, right? So Ezekiel 13, right? So now, if you're familiar with this chapter, the Most High God, Ezekiel seeing the vision of the Most High God sitting on his throne. He came to visit him, and so he's seeing the throne of the Most High God and the beings or the angels that's carrying the throne. So this picture to give a visual of what he's looking at. If those who saw the movie 300, right? You remember when Xerxes was coming to the battlefield and he had his servants carrying his throne. It had that big old massive throne that was so big when he set it down, it was like even stairs that he had to walk down, like a whole nice little flight of stairs to meet whoever was at the end of, at the bottom of the stair, right? Then, and he never left the, from the second, stair or whatever, some type of little culture thing they got. But so if you can remember that part in the movie where Xerxes in the movie 300 throne was getting carried everywhere, had the servants carrying it. So that's what's going on here. The Most High God throne is being carried with these aerial vehicles, these UFOs, whatever you want to call it, right? That's how they say it today, right? So that's what's going on in this chapter. So let's start at verse 13. And it says, "For the likeness of the living creatures, their appearance was burning coal." Right? So these creatures had a bright appearance to them, right? And it says, "And like the appearance of a lamp, and like appearance of a lamp, it went up and down among the living creatures." So they had a radiance, a glow, like energy just flowing through their bodies, that he can see. Like, I guess for a visual, if you are a Mortal Kombat fan, you played the Mortal Kombat 2, right? Mortal Kombat 2, or Mortal Kombat 2. Mortal Kombat 2 had like Raiden, the character Raiden, his just in his normal stance when he's just standing still, just you can see like electricity just flowing through his body up and down. So that's technically what Ezekiel is seeing when he's looking at these beings. Just to give like a visual to help understand what he's looking at. So he's seeing these beings of energy and power, right? And so it says, "Like appearance of lamps, and went up and down among the living creatures, and the fire was bright, and out of the fire went forth lightning." Right? So like I said, it was very bright, angelic creatures, right? And boom, 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 right? Then it says, see what else? Boom, boom, boom. Let's keep reading. Then it says, "And the living creatures ran and returned as appearance of a flash of lightning." So we all see these videos where they be zipping past the sky, they be on this side, and they back over here, then they right here, then they right there, and they they just ping ping, like that one video too we seen. It was like, I guess it happened in the early 2020 or 9, I don't know, but it was like it was like one of those little Tic Tac type shape type of little things, and it was showing it like on the radar where it's like right here. They was talking about how like it was jumping like 60 miles, in one jump, like 70 miles, like this just jumping, they're like, damn, this thing is like just jumped 100 and something miles that way, then jumped over, so they was looking at it on the radar. So that's what our dear brother Ezekiel is seeing, for lack of better terms, seeing these things just, ping-ponging, right? For the lack of better term, right? And it says, "And the living creature ran and returned as the appearance of a flash of lightning. Now as I behold, the living creatures beheld one wheel upon the earth by the living creatures with 4 faces. The appearance of the wheels and the work was like a color of a barrel. And they had 4, and they had one like a likeness of appearance, and their work as it were a wheel in the middle of a wheel." Right? So imagine he's looking at, something that kind of looked like this, right? Got like a ring, right? And you got a wheel that's rotating this way, and you have another wheel that's rotating this way, and they're interlocked together. Then inside that wheel, you have the angelic beings, what we call angels, what the government might call a UFO. They got the aliens, right? Right. So that's what he's seeing. And of course, Ezekiel lived, a few thousand years ago. So he's using his, frame of reference, to explain what he's seeing, right? Because they didn't, have a, airport, a local airport where they just see things flying all the time. So he's trying to figure this thing out, right? And use the words that he knows to try to best explain it, right? And it says, and when they went upon four sides, and they turned not when they went, meaning they was in formation, right? They was in formation, and that's how they flew. Because again, they're carrying the Most High God's chariot. They're carrying his, not his chariot, they're carrying the Most High God's throne. So, they can't just be all out of formation, because that's gonna break the formation, so you gotta protect the king, you know what I'm saying? You can't have your soldiers all out of formation. That's how Trump keep getting almost unalive. They ain't go Secret Service people out of formation. Like, get on your job. Where is your antennas, right? So these things got their antennas up. So they in formation, and they carrying the throne of the Most High God, Yahweh, the most powerful, most anything that you can be the most of, being in the whole entire everything, right? I don't even want to use the word universe, but everything, right? Even though the word universe essentially means everything, which, it's kind of like an oxymoron, universe. Anyway, but you get the point, right? So, what it say? It says, and when they went upon four sides, and they turned not when they went, meaning they stayed in formation. And for their rings, they were so high that they were dreadful, and their rings were full of eyes, and round about them four, right? So dreadful looking thing, right? So he's saying like eyes around this thing, right? It's not, it's crazy. It's terrifying looking being, right? You don't want to see this in a dark alley, right? Have a heart attack, right? Thank God is on our side. Then it says, and when the living creature went, the wheels went by them, and when the living creatures were lifted up, the earth was lifted up from the earth, the wheels were lifted up, was lifted up. So meaning, again, they was in formation, they was locked in. When it was time to go, they all, just like that Malcolm X movie, when Malcolm X did this and that, and they all just started, turned around and got up out of there, they was all together, moving together, right? In formation, like good soldiers, like an army, right? That's what he's seeing. And again, we see these videos where they being flying in formation and moving, together in unison, like synchronized swimming, right? We see those things. And it says, whatsoever the spirit was to go, they went. Thither was the spirit to go, and the wheels were lifted up against them. So, meaning, again, he's just amazed that he's seeing these aerial vehicles and how tight formation they are, and how they are, all, extravagant and brilliant in their own way. And they're carrying the Most High God throne, and they're in order and in rank and file, and they're not breaking formation, and they're making all these crazy aerial acrobatic maneuvers in the sky, and everything is still on level, right? It ain't nobody, the God is not like, whoa, slow down, hey, what y'all doing down there? You gonna make me fall out my seat? He ain't doing none of that, right? Chilling. Because they all moving in unison and togetherness, and it's look amazing. That's what he's looking at, right? It says, whatsoever the spirit was to go, it went thither, and the spirit to go, and the will were lifted over against them, for the spirit of the living creature was in the will. So interesting. Meaning they were controlling these things with their brain. You know, it wasn't like they had like gadgets and stuff, you know, and they got a little steering wheel and they got to, you know, push a little button, you know, tell everybody put their seatbelt on, you know what I'm saying, make sure everything is cool, right? You know, probably got to blow in a little breathalyzer before they pull off because they done crashed into a couple asteroids, you know. So no, there's none of that stuff going on, right? They're controlling it with their mind, right? And it's interesting because you see some of these congressional hearings on the matter, and or you see some of these other little independent, you know, people that's covering it, and they talk about how these craft are, you know, controlled like, you know, with the mind, you know, and how you know they be trying to find people that's like, you know, what they call it, remote viewing, because trying to tell you people, the CIA, these people, they got their hands in a little bit of everything, stuff that you think they wouldn't even care about. Like what they got a program for that too? Yeah, they do. Whatever you can think of, yeah, they got that, and they on that. So, you know, so you hear like stories and stuff about these things being like controlled by, you know, the brain and thoughts. You know, that's why, you know, they're able to move and maneuver the way they do and respond the way they do, because the thought is faster than the speed of light. Although in this known universe, they say the speed of light is the fastest thing in the universe. Nothing travels faster than a speed of light, right? But one thing does, and that's our ability to think, right? A thought can pop in a brain faster than light can travel. So there was, you know, of course I'm not no scientist or no physicist, so I'm explaining it the best way I understand it. So basically they were saying like, you know, they use their consciousness, and how the whole universe is technically one big consciousness, and we're all connected to it. And if you're able to tap into that frequency, how, you know, then you can also control, you know, then people can control these little vehicles that they're finding, and you know, and control it with their mind, whatever, right? And they think that's how these vehicles are being pilot, and that's how they can travel so fast and cover the distance that they cover in interstellar space, with everything being so, you know, light years away. Because again, thought is instantaneously, and is, you know, it doesn't require the speed of light to travel. And you think about that too. It's interesting. I'm rambling again, but it's cool. You think about those of us that's familiar with string theory, and you know, in the particles, you know, how the split particles, how you know, you can take a particle and you can, you know, no matter the distance between it, they're gonna emulate each other and mimic and copy each other, right? Even if there's a unit on one side of the universe to the other side, they're gonna copy and mimic each other, right? You know, that's you know, within a string theory. So that's kind of interesting to think about when they say about the whole stuff being piloted with consciousness, right? Interesting. So it says, whatever the spirit was to go, they went thither, and was the spirit to go, and the wheels were lifted over against them, and the spirit of the living creature was in the wheels. So again, you know, it's like they were controlling it with their consciousness, with their brain, with their mind, whatever they think, it happened, right? Whatever way they wanted to go, they did it, right? Because they were controlling these things with a thought, right? Let's get boom, boom, boom. All right, so let's get this. Habakkuk 3:13, and it says, "Behold." It says, "Behold." Says, "Behold, it is not of the Lord of. Behold, it is not of Yahweh of hosts that the people should labor in a very fire in the very fire, and the people should weary themselves for very vanity." So God, like, look, I don't want to have to destroy my people because they don't want to get right. They don't want to understand. I don't want to, come out here and be cooking these people, right? And because of what it says, because, shall weary themselves very vanity, right? Because some of the stuff we follow, a lot of stuff we follow, it becomes vanity. It's like worthless. It's nothing. It's just only for our own enjoyment, for our own, ego. For we can say like, yeah, I did that, or yeah, I am a good person. I'm a good person. I just gave that homeless guy, a few dollars. I am a real good person, I just hold the door for that old lady. So a lot of stuff we end up doing is for our own personal vanity, so we can feel good and show ourselves that we're not a horrible, wretched being that we know ourselves to be, that we try to block out every night when we go to sleep, right? So it says, "And the people should weary themselves for very vanity, for the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord." Right? And again, like we said earlier, going back to the terminologies. Sometimes, often. So we have clouds. We have whirlwinds. What else the other? Beasts. Swift beasts. And the glory of the Lord. Right? And it says, "For the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord, as the waters is covered of the sea." Right? And that's what we're going to understand the Most High God in that day. We're going to understand His works, right? And, and understand how he gets down and move, right? Before, though, we move, let's get this real quick. I wanted to go back to this. We was talking about the angels that Daniel saw. So, and we got to understand there's different classifications of these angels. They don't all have a look. Some of them are terrible looking. Some of them will send fear to a person, right? And some of them look like strong, powerful men, right? Like right here. It says Daniel 10:5. "And I lifted up my eyes and looked, and beheld a certain man clothed in linen, whose loins were girded with fine gold or topaz." So this angel had on a garment, and with a gold belt on, like gold bird or something, like like one of the little boxing type gold type belts around the waist, right? And it says, "And his body was like the beryl," meaning he had a green robe on. So he had a green type of apparel that he was rocking. He was rocking green and gold. You know what I'm saying? It says, "And his body was like the beryl, and his face was appearance of lightning," meaning he was strong, stern, powerful, in his appearance, right? And it says, "And his face was like lightning, and his eyes were like a lamp of fire." Serious, he wasn't like no effeminate looking. When you Google, angels, and they got him looking all effeminate looking like he been, touched in places by Zeus and those other Hermes and all them people, right? No, these is warriors. These are warriors. You gotta understand that. These is not your little cupids that they, give you stock photos of. These are warriors. These are warriors, conquerors of the universe. God dang it. That's who these people are. It says, boom, where am I at? It says, And his body was like a barrel, and his face as appearance of lightning, and his eyes as a lamp of fire, and his arms were like, and it's so, he's giving you his appearance, so it's very powerful, being, right? Very fearful, not to be played with, being that he's looking at, right? And it says, in his arms and his feet, because again, he has his garment on, and his garment is pretty long, but you can still see his arms and his feet, although his garment coming down to his feet, but you can see him. And let's see what is going on here. And it says, his body was like a barrel, and it says, and his arms and his feet were like in color. What color is this angel? Like in color to polished brass, the same color that they call Christ. Brass, brown, dark skin. This angel is black, right? So it's not out there looking like Cupid. He ain't looking like that, right? He's looking like Tyrone, right? That's what he's looking like. It says, his arms and his feet like in color to polished brass, right? So brown skin, like N.D.I.R.E. song, brown skin, don't you know? And you know the song. It says, and his voice was like a multitude, meaning he spoke loud and powerful. He didn't speak like someone that was timid. He spoke with power. And it says, and boom, boom, boom. Okay, that's it on that. Okay, well, I guess I can read this because it's important too. It says, and I, Daniel, alone saw the vision, for the men that were with me saw not the vision, but a great quaking fell upon them. So they fled and hid themselves, meaning they were scared, when, this, being appeared, they even stayed to, see what was going on. So this was a powerful intergalactic, interdimensional being, angel that, Daniel was witnessing. And terrifying, although it looked like a man, but it was so terrifying. The people that was rolling with Daniel, they got up out of there. Like, oh, all right, Daniel, I'll holler at you, Daniel. Yeah, we gonna get up out of here. We still ain't done working. Because they doing the Persian Babylonian captivity, so we slaves, right? So they like, hey, we still got work to do for Master Daniel. So just get up out of here. So they got up out of there, right? They were scared. The great quaking fell upon them, so they fled and hid themselves. So therefore I left alone and saw this great vision. So Daniel like, all right, you punks, get up out of here. All right, I'll see this. I'll stay here. I'll deal with it. So Daniel saw this thing, right? Because this angel was terrifying in power and appearance that it made everybody else run, right? So it ain't no Cupid looking type of angel going on here. Ain't no effeminate looking angel that's half naked, that's just got a little sheet wrapped around them with a little bow and arrow. That's not what's going on up there, right? It says, I alone saw this great vision, and there remained no strength in me, for my comeliness was turned in me into corruption, and I retained no strength. So even though Daniel stood his ground, he didn't run like a little punk like the rest of them did. He was still scared as and it said he felt weak and he had no strength, right? And he just like, man, what it say? It says, for my comeliness was turned in me corruption, and I retained no strength, right? So it was a very terrifying experience, right? When this angel came to visit, right? And so you gotta understand. So And again, thank God, they on our side. What I was gonna get, so I just wanted to show the parents how they look, because Daniel saw a dark skinned angel, right? Ezekiel saw, angels with wings all over their body and eyes everywhere, right? So they all got different type of appearances to them, right? And just get. Did I read all of that? Hold on one sec. Okay, I didn't read that yet. Boom. So let's go to this. Let's go to Habakkuk 3 real quick. So the Habakkuk. Now where you at? Boom. Just start at 13 real fast, right? It says, Thou went forth for salvation of thy people, even salvation with thy anointed. Thou woundest the head of the house of the wicked by discovering the foundation of the neck, Shalah. Right? So the Most High God, is going to, get with these people for all the atrocities that they have, done to his people, right? It says, Thou did strike through his scaff of the head of the village and came out of the whirlwind to scatter meat. Their rejoice was to devour the poor secretly. So these people, they thought they can just do what they want and oppress us and go around the world and act like they're fighting for humanitarian and human rights, but then oppress the people in their own land, right? They thought they can do that because it says, Thou didst strike through his scaff of the head of his villages, and they came out as a whirlwind to scatter meat, and their rejoicing was to devour the poor secretly. So they came from every which way to, with all their different policies, their different mechanisms that they use to oppress and to subjugate the Lord's people here, right? And it says, their rejoicing was to devour the poor secretly. So they thought they can just do this secretly and just be cool. It says, Thou walk through the sea with thy horses through the heap of the great waters. And when I heard, my belly trembled, my lips quivered at the voice of rottenness enter into my bones. I trembled in myself that I might rest in a day of trouble. And when he come up unto the people, he will invade them with his troops. Right? And that's, let me read it one more time. It said, when I heard, my belly trembled, my lips quivered at the voice of rottenness entered into my bones. I trembled in myself that I might rest in the day of trouble. Right? That's what we want. We want to be able to rest in the day of trouble. When he come up unto the people, he will invade them with his troops. And what is his troops? Those troops are those UAVs, those UFOs, whatever they want to call them, right? And he's going to invade them with his troops. Let's get this real quick. Let's go to Zechariah 5 real quick. I want to get it in the GNT. Where is the GNT? Over here. Let's see. Hold up. So let's check this out. Let's get this in the GMT. So I like how it reads because kind of make it a little clear, right? And even though we represent the KJV 1611 to the death, but there's nothing wrong with doing comparative translations, right? That's what we do. We do comparative text also. So Zechariah 5, right? And let's start at 2, right? And let me get this over here. Get it. Even though we read it, but we can read it again. Pull it up over here really quick. Boom. All right, let's read it. So we'll read it in a GNT, right? So it says Ezekiel 5 and 2. Let's start at 1. It says, I looked up again and saw a scroll flying through the air. So now he see something that looked like a scroll. Now a scroll is like a cylindrical type of thing, right? Like this pen, right? It's cylindrical, right? And so he sees something like this, because a scroll is rolled up, right? So he sees something like this, right? That's what he's seeing. And again, we probably seen those videos where they talk about something that's cigar shaped. That's the term that they use nowadays. Is a cigar shaped type of craft that people have witnessed seeing, right? So he's telling us that I looked up and again I saw a scroll flying through the air. What do you see? The angel asked. A flying scroll, I replied. It appeared to be 30 feet long and 15 feet wide. So our dear brother Zechariah is describing this thing, and he's saying it appears to be 30 feet long and 15 feet wide, right? And it says, then he said unto me, this scroll contains the curse that is going out over the entire land, right? Because again, over here, what do we read? What did it say? What was it? In Ezekiel, was it? I think, maybe. Forgot exactly what we just read it in. Hold up. It was... Hold up. So I wonder how to find that, where that was. I want to tie it together. Hold on. Where was it? Hold up. One second. Was it? Could it be? Boom. Was it? Could it? Hold on. Yeah, okay, dang. I'm tripping. It's right here. Verse 16. Okay. So, boom. All right, let's read this one more time. Bear with me, okay? So it says, I see a flying scroll. I I reply, it appears to be about 30 feet long and 15 feet wide. Then he said to me, this scroll contains the curse that is going out over the entire land. Right? And because like it said right here, it says, and he will invade them with his troops. Right? Verse 16, Habakkuk 3 and 16. When I heard, my belly trembled, my lips quivered at the voice of the rottenness. Enter into my bones. I trembled in myself, that I might rest in the day of trouble. You know, because he like, man, I hope I can have rest in that day of trouble. You know, when the Most High visit this place. That's what we want. Rest. Right? Protection from the evils to come. Then it says, and when he come up unto the people, he will invade them with his troops. Right? He's coming to invade them with his troops, because over here it says, I see a flying scroll. I reply, it appears to be about 30 feet long and 15 feet wide. Then he said to me, this scroll contains the curse that is going out over the entire land. One side of the scroll says that those who steal will be banished from the land. Right? So, you know, they say they see these strange craft and they have some type of strange writing written on the side. They can't decipher it. It look like, you know, ancient, you know, Sanskrit or some type of ancient hieroglyph, or, you know, some type of, you know, Phoenician, you know, old language type stuff they can't really fully, you know, get, right? But the angel says, it says, the scroll contains the curse that is going out over the entire land. One side of the scroll says, those who steal will be banished from the land. Right? So that's why he's coming to eradicate these people and eviscerate and, you know, and disintegrate this whole place, because they have stole this place from sea to shining sea, from the Atlantic to the Pacific, right? From the Arctic to the Gulf, right? From the window to the wall, right? Everywhere. And it says, one side of the scroll says, those who steal will be banished from the land. The other side says, those who swear falsely will banish from the land. So, and these people always swear falsely. Look at how many treaties they break, right? The reason why that stuff going on in the Middle East right now is because number 47 came in, we're going to tear that. It's a bad deal. Bad deal. Women never did it. Bad deal, folks. So what he thought to be a bad deal is now causing the collapse of the global economy, right? It's a bad deal, so what? Bad deal, right? We can crush the economy, but that was a bad deal, right? And that's what they want. And it says, those who swear falsely will banish from the land. So these people go around the whole land propagating lies, you know, and just, you know, through their propaganda, you know, their news cycles, everything, right? You know, the man gets on TV, tell you that the war is over with, right? But yet and still, they're still over there doing things, right? We destroyed everything over there. Everything's destroyed. But yet, they still having problems. Yet, they still having problems with the Iranian people over there. So, who are you fighting over there? We destroyed everything, totally demolished. It's all gone, right? Then what's going on over there, right? Somebody lying, right? Then the Iranians dropping, you know, diss tracks like they Tupac in the 90s, right? Every other week, right? So what's going on over here, right? So somebody lying. And we know who's lying. The false prophet is lying. Donald J. Trump, right? And because we're going to win it very quickly. Just give me 2 more days, very quickly, right? So, all for our lives. The Bible says that this earth is given into the hands of the wicked. They cover the faces of the judges. It says that the wicked is born estranged from the womb. They come out speaking lies. That's what these people do, right? That's why we call them the devil. Because the word devil just means to deceive, right? That's what the word devil means, deceiver. And that's what these people are, deceivers, right? And that's why they are so embedded in their crimes and their in their way of life that the Most High God, holy chariots that he got flying all through this whole astral plane, got it written on the side of these ships on why they coming to destroy this place. Right? Interesting. Right? Kind of like back in World War One, World War Two, you know, they had the little fighter jets and the pilots used to make graphics on the side of their plane or put little writings on the side of their plane, right? Same thing, kind of, if you think about it, right? If you kind of, you know, want to, you know, kind of similar, right? Then it says, one side of the scroll says that those who steal will be banished from the land. The other side says that those who swear falsely will be banished from the land. And this is what the Lord of heaven armies say. I am sending this curse unto the house of every thief and unto the house of every one who swears falsely using my name. So he's coming to eradicate this place because these people falsely, right, with their false religions, right? They swear falsely because, again, they break all their treaties, right? You don't believe me? Ask our Native American brothers where they at and where they supposed to be. Ask them those two questions. You know, if you see a Native American, you know, say, hey, where you at? Then ask them, where are you supposed to be? Ask those two questions, right? Then that'll tell you who the devil is and who the devil that the Bible speaks of. But these people break their word constantly. You can't trust anything they say, right? Because, you know, they ain't nothing to them, right? They constantly break their word. They are deal breakers, habitual deal breakers, right? And I mean, again, if you don't believe me, you know, go find your local Native American and say, hey, where you at? Where you supposed to be? Just ask those two questions. Where you at and where you supposed to be? They gonna say, I'm over on some little chicken shit reservation where it's alcohol liquor stores on every 2 feet, drugs, you know, very low policing, and, you know, just worse than any project in America that you can think of, right? That's where I'm at. Where you supposed to be? I'm supposed to be all over this whole dang old thing that they call America. That's where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be from Maine all the way to freaking Washington. That's where I'm supposed to be. From Canada all the way down to Argentina. That's where I'm supposed to be. Right? Ask those two questions. Right? These people are deal breakers. Right? And it says, I'm sending this curse unto the house of every thief and unto the house of every one who swears falsely by using my name. And my curse will remain in the house in the house and completely destroy it. Even the timbers and stones. Because that's what's coming to this place. Destruction. Right? Most High God is gonna get with you. Can I get with you? Can I get with you? Right? And he's gonna get with you. Right? That's what's happening. Let's get let's get 2nd Ezra 13 and 5. 2nd Ezra 13 and 5, right? And it say like this and like that. It says, after this I behold, and lo, there was a gathering together a multitude of men out of the number from the 4 winds of heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea. So this is talking about Christ and the armies of the world come to try to fight him because they stupid enough to think that they can come and fight this intergalactic, interdimensional, you know, supernatural being, right? That's how stupid they are. They think that, right? So it says, after this I behold, and lo, there was a gathering together of a multitude of men out of the number from the four winds of heaven to subdue the men that came out of the sea. And it's talking about not actual sea, it's talking about a sea of people. It's talking about the Israelites, because when you read this book, we in the wilderness chilling. Christ is passing out, crowns to the people, handing out the crowns and all that stuff. Then here come these people come spoiling the celebration, come in and crash the party, right? So right now they're crashing the party. So, and it says, and I behold, and lo, he had engraven himself a great mountain and flew upon it. And it would have been, I would have seen the region or place where out the hills was graven, and I could not. And that, so again, we know mountain, hills is talking, biblically speaking, it's talking about people, nations. So basically Christ, when he saw the armies of the world coming in on us to attack, he went and positioned himself to protect the people of Israel, right? And then when it says, and I would have seen the region or place where out the hill was graven, and I could not, meaning he said, hey, all y'all get up out of here. It's about to get dirty. You about to see some things that you don't want to see. I know y'all call me sweet baby Jesus. I know y'all think I'm sweet Jesus, but you about to see a side of Jesus you don't want to see right now. So I think y'all need to go get up out of here and let me and 144 black Supermans and 144 Mike Tysons take it from here, right? So he protected people and hid the people from the rushing in of the armies of the world, right? And it says, after this I behold, and lo, there were which were gathered together to subdue him, were so afraid. So now they coming though, but they afraid, They like, damn, okay. I know we got all this technology we've been, messing with. We've been saving for this great day right here. That's why we developed the Space Force. That's why you got the Space Force, right? So, but they're afraid, right? They don't know what's going on. They never ran into a intergalactic, interdimensional, super powered, I don't even know the words to use, but they run into a black man by the name of Jesus Christ. That's what they come into, right? And they don't know what to do. And it says, and behold, I lo, and he gave himself a mountain and flew upon it. And behold, I seen the region or place were cut out, the hills were graven, and I could not. And after this I behold, and lo, and they which were gathered together to subdue him were so afraid. And yet there's fight. So they still gonna fight. They still gonna try to fight. Because they got the orders from their commander, from their sergeant, from their captain. Attack. They like, man, target is in sight. Target is in sight. They like, okay, like what it, like, all right, fire all weapons, attack, right? Attack. So they can be like, you shoot her? Like, yeah, push the damn button, soldier. Okay, right? That's how they're gonna go down, I imagine. All right. Then it says, and lo, he saw the violence of the multitude that came. So he saw the aggression. He saw the military prowess and the power and all the stuff they come in with, all their tanks and their fighter jets and all their little technologies and stuff they've been concocting in the lab for all these decades, right? They come in with all that, right? So you see the violence that they come in with, right? And what happens? It says, boom, 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 it says, and lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came, he neither lifted up his hand nor held a sword, nor any instrument of war. Right? So he didn't, like, oh shoot, here they come. Oh shoot, God dang it, oh man, what we gonna do? He didn't do none of that. He didn't flinch. He stood there like Michael Jackson when he was doing that Super Bowl concert. He stood there for all that time taking the NFL's money and making them spend money because they're like, can this man start the show? Like, what is he doing? Like, damn, we don't pay this man all this money to do this. He just standing there. And while he's just standing there, the whole crowd going crazy, people passing out, babies being born, all that stuff is happening, right? So Christ ain't flinching. He just standing there, you know, posing like a Power Ranger. Boom, right? And they coming, they rushing. And it says, he saw the violence of the multitude that came, and he neither lifted up his hand nor held a sword nor an instrument of war. But only I saw that he sent out his mouth as it had been a blast of fire, out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests. Right? And then when we break that down, you know, we have before, that's Christ giving the order to the 144,000, the Israelites, the soldiers, you know, the X-Men, the Avengers of the Black, Hispanic, and Native people. He giving them the command to attack, you know. He got his own signal, you know what I'm saying? He like, look, come, get him, go get him, attack, spare none, right? And that's what happened. So, what did it say? Boom, boom. But I only saw he sent out his mouth, you know, and with, for time's sake, like I said, we ain't gonna get the whole breakdown on what I just said about him just giving out the order. But that's the understanding. And it says, but I saw that he sent out of his mouth and had a blast of fire, and out of his lips a flaming breath, and out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests, right? And if you must know, Jeremiah 51:20, you know, the Most High God called the Israelites his battle axe, his weapons of war. Zechariah 13:5, you know, I believe, where the Most High is talking about how he's going to give us that spiritual power to fight against these nations, right? So, but anywho, right? Then it says, and they were all mixed together. The blast of fire, the flaming breath, and a great tempest fell upon with violence upon the multitude which were prepared to fight. So we rushed these guys, right? We flooded them. We came in like a Russian tsunami, right, on these people. As soon as Christ gave us the word, get them, we came and got them, right? And what happened? And it says, and the multitude which was prepared to fight, and burnt them up every one, so that upon the sudden of an innumerable multitude nothing was to be perceived. Meaning, crushed them, demolished them, turned them into dust, powder. There was nothing but smoke. You know what I'm saying? This fumes. You know, like this evaporations. Like, dang. You know, just like, you know, those you know, for the smokers out there, you know what I'm saying? Back in the day, right? When people, you know, you be smoking with those people they call vacuum lungs, right? You pass the person of the blunt and they smoke it. They take a one hit and the whole thing is just ash, right? And like that, or like on the cartoons, you know, the little cartoon person hands somebody a cigar and, you know, they smoke the whole thing, take one puff and the whole cigar just ash, right? So imagine that. You see the armies of the world coming. They all united, you know, because what did Ronald Reagan say? What can unite us if there's only an outside force, an extraterrestrial force that can bring all nations together, right? So they all together fighting, right, under one banner. Just go kill them niggas over there, right? That's the creed. That's the motto, right? And it says, and which was prepared to fight and burnt them up, every one, that upon the sudden of an innumerable multitude nothing was perceived, but only dust and the smell of smoke. And when I saw this, I was afraid. So Ezra, which is one of the good guys, seeing this end time vision of Armageddon, when these people start smelling themselves because they defeated the West. So now they think they can just go and just go conquer everything now because they done took out big bad America. So now they like, well, let's go get them niggas over there, right? But they don't know that we got a Yahweh Shai over there with us. That's just waiting for these people to pop off. He's that guy that wish a nigga would, right? He wish something would happen. He wish these nations would come and try to mess with the Lord's people, right? That's what's going on over here. Let's get Psalm 49 real quick before we get up out of here. Psalm 49. Really quick. Psalm 49 and 11. Ooh. And it says, their inward thoughts, that their houses shall continue forever. And that's what this place is. They think that this land is my land, this land is your land. They think this whole thing is going to last forever, right? That's why they're getting ready to celebrate, Uncle Sam and Lady Liberty getting ready to celebrate 250 years of evil and of oppression that they've been propagating and pushing, right? So they're getting ready to celebrate that. It's going to be a big thing. Uncle Sam, crusty butt, and his old smelly, crusty, bald-headed Lady Liberty, they're going to be celebrating in about a month, right? They're going to be anniversary. They're going to be playing that Tony, Tony, Tony. It's our anniversary, right? That's what they're going to be on, right? But their inward thoughts is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling place shall be all generation. So the typical empire lasts for about 200 years. This thing is 50 years beyond expiration, right? And the math don't lie. The math be mathing. I know how they say the math ain't mathing. When you understand the fall of societies, the fall of empires, the math always mathing. It maths. 200 years is the cutoff. These people are pushing it with 250. And look at how things is being ran. Things is going right now. The fall of the dollar. The military is not strong and respected like it once was. I mean, if it was, we wouldn't still be talking about this straight Hamas whole thing. Everything would be settled, right? But they're losing their respect. Just like when Debo, at the end of Friday, Craig, knocked out Debo. So Red felt like, hey, I can go get my chain back now. Smokey was like, hey, let me go get my money back, right? So everybody started realizing, hey, behind the curtain, it ain't much behind the curtain. This is all for show. So their inward thoughts is that their houses should continue forever, and their dwelling places should places to all generation. They call their lands after their own names. So they have no problem naming stuff. You can call it the Gulf of America, right? And they like naming stuff after stuff, right? They even name people. You're gonna call you a nigger. That's what you are. You're a brownie, right? You're a red man. They go, so they love calling everybody stuff, right? So they like making up names, right? One more before we get up out of here, right? So that's their thought. They thought that their house will continue forever, ever, right? And we read about in Isaiah 66 when we spoke on how the chariots of the Most High God is going to gather his people from all, parts of the world and bring us back into the land. We read in Deuteronomy, no matter where we scatter to on this planet, the Most High God is going to gather his people and bring them back into the land. We read that, right? So let's get Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, and verse 1. And read this real quick. And it says, Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as afflicted him. So we are the righteous, the Israelites, God's people. And in that day, we're going to stand in great boldness in the face of those who afflicted us, right? Because through their vain philosophies and their religion, they think they got it figured out. They think that's the way and the truth, right? They don't know that the Most High God, is very clear on how to worship him and who should worship him, right? Who can worship, who should worship him, and how to worship him, right? And it says, Then shall the righteous stand in great boldness before the face of such have inflicted him, and made no account of his labors. For these people made no accounts of our labors. That's why they can't pay us reparations, right? And they say the stupidest thing, like they don't know who to give the reparations to, right? We don't know who to pay. Like, what do you mean you don't know who to give the reparations to? If you see a black person, that's who you give the $1 billion to. That's who you give the millions of the millions to. Whatever black, if you see someone black, give them a rack. You know what I'm saying? Every time you see them, if you see somebody black, give them a rack. That's the slogan. And they act like they don't know, well, who are we going to pay for the reparation? Like, I'm trying not to curse, but like that's the most stupidest question to say. Like, the people you kidnap are those the people you pay. Like, you act like it's so hard to figure out. Do you have white ancestry? Yeah, I got white ancestry. Okay. Now, this person, they have what they would call African ancestry, West African ancestry. So, that's the person you get the money to. I mean, dang. I mean, y'all figured it out with the Afghanistan people several years ago when they gave them all $250,000 each adult. They managed to figure it out with the Japanese during World War II. America had nothing to do with Germany in the 40s and the stuff that they were doing over there. But yet, America sends billions and billions to those curly-haired people, annually, right? So they have no problem just throwing money out there. But when it comes to the black and browns, they like, we don't know. Like, what do you mean? We got to figure this stuff out. We got to check the books. We got to figure out, do you people even really deserve this? Like, who will we give it to? Like, they never ask those questions when they sign those billion checks and send it overseas. They never say, who should we be? Who should be getting this? Like, should we really? Like, I don't know. Right? Something to think about. And it says, Then shall the righteous stand in great boldness before the face of such have afflicted him and made no account of his labor. We're going to stand in great boldness because we're going to have that confidence, that spirit of the Most High God, because we're going to know that he is our God and nothing else. Joel 2:27. Then they see it, and when they see it, they shall be troubled and with fear, with terrible fear. So these people that, when they start seeing the salvation of the Most High God, when they start seeing that we are being delivered, when they start getting those alerts on their phone, seek shelter now, Russia or China or Korea or whoever one of them people, they don't push the button and it's a imminent destruction in your area. And then they see us with the millions and millions of God's angels, and we just getting politely escorted up out of this hellhole and being taken to where God promised us to be, right? And they're going to be like, And when they see it, they shall be troubled with fear, with terrible fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation. So they're like, what? Dumb niggas? What? How the hell they getting up out of here? Like, what? Oh, what? I've been a Christian all my life. What? I done helped Pastor buy a new jet and a fancy car and put all his kids to school. What? They ain't gonna understand it. Right? They ain't gonna understand that the Lord's people is simply just his people. And he's coming back for them. Right? And they're gonna be amazed because they've been following all these false religions. Right? They've been following all these, things that they believe to be true, because, well, my mama told me this, my grandmother told me this, and this is what we did in our family, and everybody, this is what we did, and this is what I know, and and I don't want to learn anything different because, my mama taught me this, and that's just what it is, and we get caught up in that stuff, right? And hold on, let's get hold up. So when they see it, they shall be troubled with fear, and shall be amazed at his salvation. For the strangeness of his salvation is so far beyond and what they have looked for. Right? Hold on, there's one verse I was looking for though. Hold up. Hold on. Bear with me. Oh, where that? Hey, what was it? It'll come back to me though, but let me read it out again though. It'll come back to me, but it says, and when they see it, they shall be troubled with fear, and shall be amazed at it, for the strangeness of his salvation. So again, because these people, believe that Christ is coming for, different reasons other than what the Bible clearly states, because their, traditions of their belief, tell them so. So they will see the strangeness of his salvation so far beyond all that they look for. So they're not looking, for God to come back with the millions and millions of angels who they call aliens or UFOs, UAPs, and using those things as the method of his salvation to gather his people from all parts of the world to bring them back to the land. They're not thinking like that, right? That's why it's going to be so strange and so far beyond of all what they look for. So they're not looking for that. They thinking some little hippie style white Jesus gonna come back, with a bag full of candy and handing it out to everybody and all that cool stuff and hugging, and we're gonna be a big old party and everybody's gonna be, no, it ain't. That's not what's happening, right? It says, hold up. It says, and they repenting and groaning for anguish of spirit shall say within themselves, for this was he whom had sometimes in derision and a proverb and a reproach. Right? So they like, man, these was the people that we used to, subjugate and oppress and thought was nothing, like, what do you mean? the niggas first. Let the niggas in first. What do you mean? Right? What's the meaning of this? And it says, we are fools to count his life madness, his end to be without honor. So you're like, what do you mean, those people? Right? So then they're going to be like, dang, we've been foolish to think of these people to be less than when these people are actually God's people. Dang, how did we make that mistake? What did Thomas Jefferson say? Thomas Jefferson said, if there's a God in heaven and he is just, America has to, what it says, America have time to pay for taking the Lord's people into captivity. That's what Thomas Jefferson said, right? He said that. He said, if there's a God in heaven, and if he is just, and he is a God of justice, he says America has hell to pay for, the mistreatment of the Lord's people. He said that, right? So, these people is going to see the strangeness of the salvation of the Most High God, and they're going to be feeling salty that they counted, our existence as nothing, and not knowing that we are the people of the Most High God, right? It's going to be crazy in that day for them. They're not going to understand it, right? They're going to be like, nope, not my Jesus, right? And it says, this was he whom we had sometimes in derision, a proverb and a reproach. Because, they had all types of ways to make fun of us, to oppress us and label us and all that stuff, right? It says, we fools accounted his life madness, his end to be without honor. Because they thought we were nothing. Like, what? And people, whatever, they mean nothing. It says, how is he numbered among the children of God? They're like, how is these people the children of God? Look at them. Look what they do. They game bang. They do drugs. They shoot each other. They all live on one street in the ghetto called hell. And they come outside and they kill each other. Right? What do you mean, those people? It says, we fools counted his life madness and his end to be without honor. How is he numbered among the children of God? And his lot is among the saints. Therefore we have erred from the way of truth. Right? So let's get this real quick. Right? Let's get this in Jeremiah. Hold up. How are they trying that? Hold up. You're trying to do me. Hold up. Right here, Jeremiah 16 and 19, right? So let's read this one more time. So it says, we fools accounting his life as, let's start from here. It says, they see it, they shall be troubled with fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all they that look for it. They repent, and they repent in groaning for anguish. It says, they repent and groaning for anguish, say within themselves, this is he whom we had sometimes in derision, a proverb and a reproach. said, we fools, right? It says, we fools accounted his life madness and his end to be without honor, because they don't care about the blacks and the Hispanics. We don't care about them. They don't really care about us. Like Michael Jackson told us, they don't really care about us, right? Trying to find it over here in the Bible too, real quick. So yeah, right. So boom, it says right here. So let's read it again. So let's start from the top. It says, and when they see it, they shall be troubled with fear, and shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond of all they look for. They repented and groaning for anguish of spirit, and shall say within themselves, this is he whom we had sometimes in derision, meaning they oppressed and subjugated us and treated us badly. In a proverb and a reproach, we fools accounted his life madness and his end to be without honor. How is he numbered among the children of God? And his lot is among the saints. Therefore we have erred in our way of truth, right? So they're going to realize their mistake in their false ideologies and their philosophies and their religion that they've been following, because it says this, Jeremiah 16:19, O Lord, my strength and my fortress and my refuge in the day of affliction, because he protect his people. The Gentiles shall come to thee from the ends of the earth, and shall say, surely our father have inherited lies. Right? They're going to know in that day that everything that they learned that Sunday morning and other little various religions that they found themselves into, they shall say, surely our father have inherited lies, vanity, and things wherein there is no profit. Right? They're going to realize, like, damn, we've been messed up following this fake ass stuff the whole entire life. I got to curse now. I'm getting upset because a lot of our people are in this stuff and they don't even understand that it's vanity. It's nothing. It's fake. And it's going to be messed up in that day. And they're going to say, and they repented, meaning they're going to be feeling sorry, stupid, dumbfounded. And they repented and groaning for anguish of the spirit, it shall say within themselves, meaning they're going to be killing themselves. They're going to be kicking themselves, hitting their head against the wall for following that stupid ass shit that they've called themselves following every Sunday. Right? Follow behind pastor. Right? They're going to be kicking themselves. Right? And it says, with anguish of the spirit, and they shall say within themselves, this is he whom we had sometimes in derision, a proverb and a reproach. We are fools, accounting his life as madness, to his end without honor. They're going to be like, damn, we fucked up. Damn. Oh, damn. Right? That's how they're going to be. It's very messed up. I can't even, I hope not to have that feeling. To know that, dang, this is the Lord and Savior coming to do what the Lord and Savior do, and he's gathering his people, and I am not in that number. That is a horrible feeling to have. And these people is going to feel it in that day. Anguish of the spirit. They shall say within themselves, this is he whom we had sometimes in derision, a proverb and a reproach. We are fools, accounting his life as madness. That's how they look at us. They look at us as nothing. Like, who are these people? Right? Well, we need to give them reparation for it. Like, they better figure it out. Pull yourself up by your bootstrap, right? Right? What you gonna help? What? No, I'm not helping any Negroes, right? No Negroes, right? How is he numbered among the children of God? How is these people, the Black, Hispanic, and Native American, how are they the children of God? Look how they live. Look at them, right? Look what they do. How is they the people, right? They're going to say this stuff to themselves. And it says, therefore we have erred in our way of truth. Because again, over here, surely our fathers have inherited lies. vanity and things wherein there is no profit. Get out of that fake ass stuff. Stop following these fake ass religions. And I'm cursing now because I'm mad. I'm angry. Because a lot of our people is in this stuff. And they don't understand the detriment in following this stuff. Right? And they in it to win it. And they ain't going to win nothing. But a hot bath in that lake of fire. Right? And it says, therefore have we erred from the way of truth, and the light of righteousness have not shined on us. And the sun of righteousness rose not upon us. Meaning they don't have the light. They don't have the wisdom. There's no light in that fake ass shit that they do every Sunday that they just got done doing yesterday. Today, Monday, right? They got done doing yesterday. There's no light in that. You know? But people go there because they feel, if it makes them feel good, if it feels some type of little, hole that they, need to be filled, pause, right? But it's no light. And the light of righteousness have not shined on us, and the sun of righteousness rose not upon us. We weary ourselves in the way of wickedness and destruction. Meaning they live and propagated wickedness and destruction. Thinking that they was doing it, the right way. Right? Weary and destruction. Yeah, we have gone through the desert where they lay no way. Where they lay no way. But as for the way of the Lord, we have, what it say? We have not known it. They don't get out of that fake stuff, out of that religion, whatever you in. Come back to the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High God and keep the faith in the Mashiach Yahushua Christ. Right? That's what we do. Right? And get out of that fake stuff. Because very clear, tell us this right here. For the people of God, the Israelites. Right? Very clear, very simple. It says this. Deuteronomy 10 and 12. Now Israel, what do the Lord God require of thee? But to fear the Lord God, to walk in his ways, keep them commandments, right? To fear God, have a healthy fear of the Most High God, knowing that he controls everything, right? He can, stop or create a blessing at a blink of an eye, a thought, whatever, right? He's the reason why your heart is beating, right? All that stuff, right? Understand the power that the Most High God has, right? It says, but to fear the Lord thy God, to walk in his ways, keep them commandments, to love him, right? That's what Christ says. The greatest commandment is to love God. To love him, to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul. That is what? Just read it from the top. Now, Israel, what do the Lord thy God require of thee? But to fear the Lord thy God, and to walk in his ways, and to serve the Lord thy God, right? With all thy heart and with all thy soul, right? To keep the commandments of the Lord thy God, his statutes which I command thee this day for thy good, right? And it is for our good, That's why he gave it to us. Let's get this, then we out. And it says this for the people. It says this. Where that? It says, this is Ecclesiastes 12 and 13. Last verse, then we out of here. I know I said this about 11 times. It says this. So we just read, now Israel, what do the Lord thy God require of thee? But to fear the Lord, to keep his commandments. Right? That's what we're supposed to do. Fear the Most High God. Why? Ecclesiastes. For let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Meaning just get the full understanding of this thing. Just how they say, just cut the day, right? Just get the full understanding. Hear the conclusion. Fear God and keep his commandments. For this is the whole duty of man. That is the purpose of life. Everybody wondering what's their purpose. What's my purpose? What am I supposed to be doing? Right? Let us hear the whole conclusion. Look, God about to lay it all out for us. Right? This is the conclusion. To fear God. Understand that the Most High God is who He say He is. He is Him. Right? And to keep His commandments. Do the commandments that He tells us to do. For this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. Right? So God said, fear the Lord, keep the commandments. That's the whole duty. Because I'm going to bring everything out to the light. And I'm going to judge accordingly. So this fear the Lord, do right, keep the commandments, for we can keep, So I wanted to jack you up, right? So, yeah, so hopefully that was edifying, right? Get a little understanding of what these aerial phenomenon things is, again, of course, not saying that every last one of them is that, of course, some of these are man-made and so forth, right? So, but the Most High God got some stuff where they ass too, so don't think He don't. And what He got is way technical advanced than whatever these people got. So we're going to say shalom, peace. Hopefully that was edifying. Till next time, we out. Shalom.